Well, hello, excuse me. Well, hello. just, I can't believe that that it does feel very familiar. But anyway, welcome back. This is episode 85 of Bando's Breakdowns. We're live this week. It's Friday, April 10th, 2026. And again, as I was just trying to get out a minute ago, I can't believe how familiar this all feels. Usually we're promoting an episode at this hour every Friday, but today we're live. It's again another edition of Bando's Breakdown. My name is Zain Bando. It's the same show you guys know, love, and appreciate, except this time it is live. Shout out to the 8 people that are already in the stream at the moment. Again, it's Friday, April 10th, 2026. For those of you who are just joining us, just going over the few particulars before we get into the program this afternoon. So, without further ado, here we go. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the ETB Network. To do so, go to youtube.com/ETB Network. That's where you'll find all the shows. We were live this entire week because we had some admin switch ups this week. So it ended up working out pretty well for the majority of our shows to be live on the air this week. And obviously, for this show, it's usually pre recorded. So usually there is an audio only version of this, but this week there won't be. If you want the other 84 or so episodes, though, you can do so. Go to wherever you get your podcast. You can listen to wherever you get your podcasts as well. That would be Spotify, Apple Podcast, Acast, and so much more. Just search Bando's Breakdowns in your RSS feed. Give me a 5-star review. That way you like everything that you're hearing on today's program and other shows that I'm a part of. It just tells me that you like the content that I'm putting out and you want more of it on a weekly basis. So figured I would give that to you guys as well. Again, listen to Bando's Breakdowns wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get into the show now. With that being said, let's go into Zan's overview. What we're going to be discussing today on this program for the next 35 to 45 minutes or so on this Friday afternoon. We have a lot to get to. We have the Final Four and the National Championship to recap. For those of you who have been living under a rock, you may not know who won the National Championship, but for those of you who don't, you obviously do know. It's a couple days old, but I figured we'd still go over it. It's kind of important that we do so. We'll talk about that. We will talk about the college basketball transfer portal. We will also talk about my interaction with Illinois head basketball coach Brad Underwood at the post-game press conference following Illinois' game versus UConn in the Final Four. I'll have that pulled up, and we will be able to watch it in full and hear what Underwood had to say, because I don't think a whole lot of people have gotten the full context of his now viral answer that's going around social media. So we'll go over that. We'll go over some news about the Bulls, some structural changes that they're making to the front office, what I think of those, and how I think it'll impact the franchise in the future. Whether I think they keep Billy Donovan or not, that remains to be seen. Who knows? Some news might break while we're on the air here. I don't think it will. Per se, there's been a lot of speculation as to what's going on. It doesn't seem like things are moving entirely too quickly, but hopefully we'll get some answers here. If not today, maybe by the time episode 86 comes out next week, we'll get some answers there as well. But nonetheless, though, we'll go over that. We will preview UFC 327. There's also some other events that are taking place this weekend as well that I wanted to briefly highlight, but UFC 327 will be the main focus. That's tomorrow night from the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida. And we will also go over Zain, Zinger, and one thing that I saw, which unfortunately, one thing that I saw was supposed to be a reaction to a video. It no longer is going to be. It's going to be a description of what I think of this thing that I saw. So usually I like to do videos to accompany that, but we'll go in a different direction because I don't want to waste any more time. So let's get into it here. Final Four and the National Championship here. So the Final Four took place this past weekend in Indianapolis. 2-day extravaganza if you just want to include the Final Four and the National Championship, but it was an all-weekend extravaganza. Excuse me, if you wanted to include the D2 National Championship, the D3 National Championship, as well as the NIT, which was won by Auburn over Tulsa. But nonetheless, though, let's get into the Final Four. Obviously, 4 teams got all the way to the end. It was Illinois out of the South region. It was Arizona out of the West region. It was Michigan out of the Midwest region. And of course, without further ado, it was UConn out of the East region. So let's get into these games here. Illinois played UConn in the first one. UConn wins the game 71-62 over the Illini. It was Illinois' first Final Four appearance since 2005, the first Final Four appearance ever for Illinois coach Brad Underwood. And Illinois just overall was outcoached in this game. It was pretty simple. Illinois got good looks. They weren't falling. You also had Illinois with a couple of chances to try to get a cushion together. Keaton Wagler had a quiet 20 points as well in this game, but just overall, too much inconsistency. 19 for 56 from the field, I think was the final number for Illinois in that one. And UConn was able to just take over in the second half, even with a bit of a slow-paced offense near the end of it from Dan Hurley's squad. But overall, it was a game that felt like it was too big of an uphill battle for Illinois to climb out of, and Illinois was unable to do so. At the time that this is being, well, I guess, streamed live to the masses, I almost said recorded. I'm so used to that. Illinois has not had a player enter the portal from this past year's team, nor has anyone declared for the draft officially as of yet. There's rumblings that Wagler will do so, as he was a consensus All-American, and some have him as a top 5 NBA lottery pick. But there are also the people, and I'm one of them, that believes that he deserves to return to Champaign for one more season, bulk up a little bit more, be in the National Player of the Year conversation, and try to bring Illinois back to the Final Four once again. Now, will he do that? I'm not so sure. Would he be giving up $10 million or so in doing so? There's a good chance that is also possible. But at the end of the day, it's his decision overall. We shall see what happens next with him. We know for sure that Kylan Boswell will no longer be on Illinois next season, as it was his final game as he gets ready for the Pitt invite coming up next week ahead of the NBA draft coming up in about a month or so. But Illinois falls to UConn, a very good UConn team, a very well-coached UConn team by Dan Hurley. Then in the other game, it was a Michigan masterclass over Arizona. This was a domination from the start. 91-73, if I'm not mistaken. The halftime score was 48-32. Michigan just overall physically overpowering an Arizona team that really, as I alluded to on some other streams earlier this week and last week, too reliant on stars, too reliant on young talent, just could not hang with Michigan no matter how hard it tried. I was not a huge fan of that game at all. I thought it would be way more competitive. And then in the championship game itself, as I alluded to the other day, Michigan played like an NBA-style team against a UConn team that just didn't know what hit them. They played from behind for much of the game, didn't play as well as they should have offensively, and lost at the end of the day. 69-63 was the final score there, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, though, Michigan wins the national championship. It's the Big Ten's first national title in 26 years. And of course, they did the trifecta. The UCLA Lady Bruins won the national championship. And then on the football side of things, the Indiana Hoosiers and Kurt Signetti won the CFP. So the Big Ten is dominating right now. The only thing that they won't win, and it's unfortunate to say, the only thing they won't win, more than likely, unfortunately, unless Wisconsin does its thing, is the Frozen Four. But that remains to be seen. But that is kind of a nutshell what the Final Four and what the national championship was all about there. And obviously on to next year, but a lot to be excited about from a Big Ten perspective as well. And it remains to be seen sort of what happens with some of these teams, with some of these moves in the portal. And speaking of the portal, let's go over the college basketball transfer portal. And luckily, we are doing this live, so I can give you a bit of a perspective as to who is in the portal and who has not declared for the portal. So let me Let me do my due diligence and pull that up really quick. There's a very helpful spreadsheet that someone has put together. I don't know who this is, but someone put this spreadsheet together. It's the unofficial Illinois transfer tracker. All right, so let's take a look at Illinois first. Illinois, some major targets that they are considering here. John Blackwell from Wisconsin, obviously a guard, 6'4", 203 pounds, out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Averaged 19.1 points per game and 5.1 rebounds per game and 2.3 assists per game. Another target to look at is Alex Wilkins out of Furman, 6'5", 175, out of Mattapan, Massachusetts. And then, of course, KJ Lewis out of Georgetown, 6'4", 210-pound guard. And he has 1 year of eligibility remaining, and he is definitely interested in Illinois. It remains to be seen what will happen with Illinois. This is as of Thursday, April 8th, 2026 at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, well sourced as well. All right, let's take a look at some eligible players now for next season. So if you take a look at the 2026-27 potential roster, some guys that are definitely out of are definitely in consideration for sure are Lucas Murillo, Ethan Brown, Landon Davis, and of course Quentin Coleman. Then obviously the guys that are in the middle here, sophomore wise, Jason Jaxtis, if he decides to return from his blood clot. Brandon Lee is in the mix, David Merkovic, and of course Blake Fagmeni. But it remains to be seen whether Fagmeni actually decides to return to Illinois. There seems to be some speculation that he might not, just considering that he may not get a full chance to play. That remains to be seen as well. And then, of course, let's keep going here with this. Some guys that are basically out of eligibility if we were to really kind of quantify it, unless they did choose to stay one more year if they really wanted to. The Ivicic brothers, of course, Jake Davis, and obviously Ty Rogers should hopefully come back to Illinois, given that he was injured and missed the entire 2025-26 season and was a leader from the bench on this team as well. So it remains to be seen whether he decides to return himself, but I think he should. He'd be smart to do so, just because he hasn't played officially in 2 years. It'd be good to see him play, and he'd actually be on a pretty good team based on who returns. You would hope. The way too early, top 5 I've seen even from the Athletic is Illinois at number 1. So that remains to be seen as to whether or not some of these guys come back. But speaking of Illinois, let's talk about my interaction with Brad Underwood. I was at the Final Four as credentialed media, as many of you know, which means I got access to the post-game press conference. I also got access to the locker room post-game as well. And had I gone down a little bit earlier, I would have gotten to do some of the pre-game stuff as well. But nonetheless, though, I was able to get a few minutes with Brad Underwood. I knew I had one shot to do this, so let's, in fact, pull it up. It's done pretty well on Twitter the last few days. And again, shout out to everyone that's in the stream right now. Really appreciate you guys. Twitter is doing great on this right now. A lot of you guys are on Twitter. I really appreciate your guys' interaction with this thing. It's awesome. I'm already on here and I'm getting bombarded with notifications. So shout out to you guys as I'm seeing this now in real time. Really appreciative of you guys to be able to do this, and obviously it's good to be live. So let's pull this up here when we can. Here we go, and I have it right here. And again, thanks so much to Coach for his time as usual. It really means a great deal. His interactions with the media though are usually pretty awesome. So let's take a look here. Let's watch this thing, and let's see. If, for those of you who haven't seen it, here it is. This is I'm gonna react to this as we watch it here. So here we go, and this was as of Saturday night. It's been seen 24,300 times. Shout out to all of you guys that have interacted with this thing, regardless of social. And this is courtesy of the NCAA and, of course, the Illini Athletics And here's the clip. Here we go.
My question is, you had told me a year ago in Milwaukee that your goal, of course, is to still and will continue to always be to win a national championship. You came up 2 games short of that tonight. What would be your overall biggest holistic takeaway from the season? And can you just kind of talk about how proud you are of this group and how proud this group made out of you as a coach?
I told our coaches, I said, when they beat us in the Elite Eight, we were right there. That was a bad feeling. This is even worse. I thought that team was a Final Four team, but just lost to them in the Elite Eight. I thought we were a national championship caliber team. And I'll say what I always say, and it sounds redundant, but I apologize. You just have to keep knocking on the door. And this team, like I said, gave me joy because they were about all the right things. And if you want to put a contest together about good human beings, we'll win. And there's no question what this group will be in life. And as a coach, that's why I got in this. Am I competitive? Does today stink? It hurts. My gut hurts so bad right now that I feel for all of them. But I'm also excited about the joy that we brought a lot of people in this run. And we've got Illinois back to a level that they're in Final Fours again. And by God, as long as I'm the ball coach, I better not take 21 damn years to get back there. And we've got great people. We've got great support. And for that, when I'll reflect at some time, today's not a very good time to ask me that, but I'll reflect on what we're doing. I feel sad. I'm sad. If you want to know the truth, I'm sad. But I'll reflect on some of the other stuff later. Season's coming to an end, stink, because I'm going to steal a quote from Kelvin Sampson. They may not be I may not be as big a part of their life, but they are my life. And I'm sad. I'm sad.
All right, so that's that. And again, of course, shout out to him for his time and just everything he does for the media and making our jobs easier. I mean, it truly is remarkable to hear him speak about some of those things and for him to just get raw. So I want to just briefly discuss this for a minute here. Just kind of my thought process going into that question and just kind of how I knew that it was the best course of action to sort of let him speak and to sort of let him do his thing. I've been in media rooms long enough with him and with other coaches to know that you got to let these guys talk. I feel like, and this isn't to call anybody out. This isn't to say anything remotely negative about anyone, but I feel like we can do a better job as a profession of letting these guys be themselves a little bit. And I sometimes think that just getting the answer isn't enough. You got to let these guys elaborate. And if I didn't let him elaborate, and if I interrupted, it would have not been a good look on my part. So, with that being said, I knew as soon as he started to choke up, I'm like, okay, it's time for me to step back and let him really say how he feels. And I'm really pleased at the way that that came out. My delivery of the question, I'll admit, could have been a little bit better. But the goal is I wanted him to fully kind of just say in the moment how he felt. I mean, he's never been to a Final Four before. All of this is surreal to him. All of this is unprecedented. They probably didn't expect to lose the game. They were really confident that they were going to win the game and at least go to the national championship. There was no guarantee that they were going to win it. Obviously, they didn't win it, of course, because they didn't make it. But I'm sure just from the surreal part of all this stuff, he was probably a little bit choked up. And I feel like too many people were just wanting answers. So why did this defensive set not work? Or why didn't you do this? And sometimes it isn't about that. It's about how do you really feel in that moment. And I think hopefully I did a good job of trying to explain that. So shout out to Coach, shout out to Illinois, obviously. And shout out to everybody on the inside that makes our jobs easier and allows us the access that we get because without me asking that never comes to light. And obviously that Kelvin Sampson kind of twist in his own words has blown up. So I mean I don't want to it's all on him. He made it happen, but it was just nice enough for me to be the delivery guy, if you will, of that info. And shout out to all the people that have reached out to me privately via text, via DM, all that stuff. Really, really cool stuff. Some very nice messages. People I haven't heard from in a really long time. Just thought it was overall really cool, really classy of you guys to do that. Just awesome stuff. And truly could not be could not be more grateful for that support. But nonetheless, that's going to do it in an Illinois season. It finishes 28-9 on the year. Lucky enough to have seen the end of 3 of their last 4 seasons, 2023, 2025, and now 2026. 2024, I didn't have an outlet to cover the team. That's the year they lost to UConn in Boston in the Elite Eight. So blessing in disguise, stars aligned, whatever you want to call it. Truly a memorable experience, and I'm already looking forward to hopefully covering the Detroit Final Four next season. But nonetheless, though, that'll put a bow on Illinois season for now. We'll get back to Illinois in the coming weeks if it does anything remotely interesting in the portal. Who knows? Hopefully there's breaking news on this, but if there's not, I'm sure there's going to be other opportunities to talk about them. But nonetheless, though, let's move on. Let's move to professional basketball now. The Bulls clean house. They made some major moves this week, and it's clear that the Bulls want to start over. It's simple as that. A few things of note that I'd like to talk about. So the Bulls have won 1 playoff game since 2017. Okay. In my excuse me, pretty much in my lifetime, I've known failure from this team. This team, I've never seen this team make the NBA Finals. Okay, my best memory as a fan was probably Derrick Rose beating the Cleveland Cavaliers a decade ago in that 1 playoff game in Chicago. That was the buzzer beater. That was years ago now. People don't even remember that. And what's unfortunate is I don't know. I just think they're not pleasing the fans. They're not. It's as simple as that. The fans are frustrated. They're disappointed in a bad product. They're disappointed that the Bulls aren't getting good players. Number one. Number two, they're also disappointed that they're letting go of homegrown talent. I was very upset when Ayo Dosunmu left. And this whole Jaden Ivey situation just makes the organization look bad. Yeah, did they do the right thing by getting rid of him? Probably because of what a head case he is to the organization. But nonetheless, though, just a terrible look. If you're anybody affiliated with this organization, to where you have to sit in mediocrity, you have to hope that this draft goes well. And it may not even take this draft. It may be the 2027 draft. It may be the 2028 draft. And heck, it may be the 2029 draft. I mean, this team is not in good shape whatsoever. And they may not be in good shape for a long time. So overall, entirely disappointing. They did the right thing by cleaning house, though. And they need help. They need picks. They need capital. They need all of it. Man, because right now they are in full rebuild mode. If you've ever seen it, they lost 12 games in a row at one point this season. The one game they won, which was after the 12-game winning streak I was at, and they just have not played good basketball all year. And it was really a distant memory when they started undefeated and it looked like they were going to do really well. And then all of a sudden they just imploded and they could never get back to that 8 seed line. And ever since then, they just have not been the program that they needed to be. And it's been really disappointing to follow this team and just know that they're horrible. So It's as simple as that. All right, let's move on now to some UFC. And I meant to go on this rant a couple weeks ago, but let's just go on this rant now before we even get to the main event. Because the main event's a good fight. It's nothing to take away. I'm just gonna say this now, and I don't care how much backlash I get. I think mixed martial arts at the moment is in a terrible spot. So this is what we have now. So every week they're churning out the same product over and over and over and over and over and over again. And now it feels like, to me, at least in this era, that none of the fights feel particularly big. Okay? Every division for the most part is messed up. I mean, this isn't even, and this is no disrespect to this fight, but Alex Pereira, before moving up, was the UFC light heavyweight champion. Okay, Prochaska, in a way, is being given a gift by getting this fight, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve this fight, but I think what this fight represents is it's the current state of where the promotion is at. They're trying to churn out as much content as they can for as little satisfaction from the fans as they can, and they're hoping that the fans just suck up, forget about it, and continue to care. And I think that low key sucks. I really do. Whether it's pricing out the fans, whether it's not making the fights the fans want to see, whether it's whatever it is. The only good thing right now is that everything's on Paramount. So everything is more accessible than it ever has been. Outside of that, the product itself is just, it's not there. I mean, they even announced the Ultimate Fighter, and the coaches are Daniel Cormier and Michael Bisping. The Ultimate Fighter used to be two coaches that couldn't stand each other, and they would fight at the end of the season. Now, by season 34, it's two retired guys. I mean, like, come on, like, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be some changes, and there's got to be changes quick, because you can't just have these one-offs or these cards that are are good, and then the next 7 or 8 or just whatever. This is another one. I mean, you lose Van versus Tyra. That's a major loss in my opinion. And I want to see who commented here. Oh, yeah, this is a great point. Tom, this is an excellent point. They care more about, well, okay, now if we're going to get on this discussion, okay, and then this is this. Unfortunately, the UFC consider, yes, 100%. Now, if we're gonna get into that just for a second, I feel like you got to throw all the eggs in the DWCS basket, because if the entertainment value is there and people enjoy that kind of product and people care about the fast-paced 5 fights every Tuesday, and most of them are pretty good, and you're done. I mean, I feel like it kind of just makes the Ultimate Fighter obsolete, but we'll see if this season is anything remotely interesting. Nonetheless, though, let's talk about this fight. Yuri Prohaska, Carlos Ulberg for the vacant UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. For those of you who are just joining me, and for those of you who don't know, Alex Pereira, he has one more comment here. Well, it also helps because they can do all those cuts. Yeah, that's exactly right, too. Very, very good point. All good points by my former OG MMA Outsiders co-host and one-time fill-in co-host for ETB Sports this past week, Tom Albano. I appreciate your analysis there. Nonetheless, though, let's talk about the main event itself. So the main event, as I was alluding to, Yuri Prohaska, Carlos Ulberg for the vacant UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. Yuri Prohaska looking to regain his belt that he never lost in the octagon against the guy in Carlos Ulberg that's been a knockout machine for the last several years now. Since bursting onto the UFC scene, he's won 9 fights in a row. Prohaska's fought a who's who list at light heavyweight. I think this is Prohaska's fight to lose. I really do. I think his championship experience is just going to be too much for Carlos Ulberg overall. I think Ulberg is going to have to get him out early. He's going to have to catch him with something coming in, and he's going to have to try to knock Prohaska out. The longer the fight goes, I think the more it favors the former champion, just like it did in his win against Glover Teixeira. So give me Prohaska to win in the 3rd round by TKO, regain his belt, and get this light heavyweight division moving again. We'll see if it actually does, barring anything catastrophic, come tomorrow night in Miami from the Kaseya Center. For the rest of the card itself, while we're sitting here, just to give you the particulars of this card. That is UFC 327. It's a 5:30 p.m. Eastern start for the prelims, 12 fight card overall. As we just alluded to, the main event of the evening, some other fights on the card: Azmat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa, Curtis Blades and Josh Hogan at heavyweight, Dominic Reyes versus Johnny Walker, Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr, and then the main event of the prelims, Bellator Never Die, I guess, Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Pico as well. It's a pretty stacked card, some pretty good names on it, but figured we would just go over that really quick. You will see my full picks tomorrow afternoon before the fights begin. I am 77, 51, and 1 for the year, 6-9 on the main card, and we're looking to get back to 500 on the year for UFC UFC numbered event main event predictions. We lost on the Gaethje Pimblett fight. We won on Volk and Lopez, and we also lost on Oliveira Holloway. So we're looking to get back and even our record there as well this weekend. For the rest of combat sports this weekend, we also have PFL Chicago, which I will not be in attendance for tomorrow night. That is the Sergio Pettis, Mitch McKee card. We also have Tyson Fury fighting on Netflix against Makhmudov. I cannot pronounce his name. Conor Ben is also fighting Regis Prograis on the card as well. There's also One Championship tonight on Amazon Prime if you guys like that. There's Octagon. There's a couple of cards outside of just the UFC this weekend. So if you're interested in other types of MMA, you will get those as well. And then finally, the last two topics here before we get out of here. Zain Zinger, I believe that Steve McMichael went in the Hall of Fame way too late. And it's for one reason and one reason only. It came out earlier this week that he did have CTE. Come on, NFL. Okay, my point in this rant is not about the CTE thing. Okay, more and more former players are coming out now, post life, if you will, that are now having it. That's not the issue. The issue is getting these guys in the Hall of Fame when they are cognitively still there and they are still excited to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't understand it. Some of the greatest players that we've seen now over the last 30 to 40 years are not getting their due in the Hall because it's too damn late. And I think it's a shame. I think it's shameful. I think it's unfair. I think it's disrespectful to the families involved. I think it's disrespectful to the former teammates involved who said Hall of Famer. I think it's a complete and utter disappointment and mess, and the NFL needs to really look at how and when they put these guys in, because before you know it, it's going to be too late, and some of these guys are no longer going to be on the planet. So that's where I'm disappointed. That's where I'm really upset, is because this guy waited years to get in the Hall of Fame. And when I met him in 2019, he was in great spirits. He could have easily gone in that year in 2019. It would have been a great celebration. By 2021, he was not the same person. And I think that is a damn shame. I really do. We have one more comment here as well. This is back to talking about UFC. Pico being a heavy favorite over Pitbull is infuriating. I completely agree with that. But that is my rant regarding Steve McMichael. Final topic on today's episode. We're about to hit the 40-minute mark. It'll probably end up being a 45-minute stream after we get done with this here. But one thing I saw, wife surprises her husband with tickets to the national championship. The video I cannot find, but this video I saw, the guy is a Michigan fan, clearly. And when he won, she took this video, and the caption was, if we could get a couple Michigan players to comment and 10,000 likes, I will take him to the national championship. And sure enough, based on what I remember, they did go, and I thought it was really cool that this is now becoming a trend. It's happened in previous years at the Final Four. It's happened in previous years at the national championship. And it's also happened with other sports as well. And the big life lesson here is you never know until you post. Sometimes the craziest things happen in the world, and dreams do come true. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, those dreams did come true for that guy. No errors this week as far as I know. So shout out to all you guys who bared with me during this. Greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, a few quick reminders before we get out of here. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the ETB Network. You can do so at youtube.com/ETB Network as we climb closer towards the 4,000 watch hour goal. Would be greatly appreciated if you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you don't miss a single episode of this show, Bando's Breakdowns, or any other show across the network. Would be greatly appreciated if you guys showed your support there. Also, add the show to any of your RSS feeds by listening to Bando's Breakdowns wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, and of course, you can follow the show across social media at Bando's Breakdown. That's where all the clips live for Instagram and TikTok, as well as all the regular videos on X. Would be greatly appreciated if you followed along there as well. And for those of you who may have forgotten, my name is Zain Bando. I'm a sports journalist and an ETB Network co-host, the primary host of this very show. This is the main show that I spend the most amount of time overseeing, as well as the co-host of ETB Sports, a co-host on Forever Power 5, and whatever other streams I decide to be a part of. But those are the three main ones. Oh, and then, of course, co-host of the MMA Outsiders as well. So those four are kind of the four I oversee, but this is the one I care the most about, of course, because it's my solo show. We just surpassed 2 years of doing this, and this was yet another edition of BB. This was episode 85. All right, for everybody here at the ETB Network, my name is Zain Bando. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Bando's Breakdowns. We will be back on a regular schedule with Bando's Breakdowns, episode 86, back to the pre-recorded format. Once again, next Friday, same time, same place, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific. You will get that released on Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, Friday morning, midnight Eastern, for the audio-only crowd as well. So stay tuned to episode 86. We will keep it rolling as we are closer and closer to the NFL draft. But until next time, I'm Zain Bando. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of Bando's Breakdowns. Enjoy your Friday, April 10, 2026. Enjoy your weekend with the Masters, the UFC, some NBA playoff chase games, some hockey as well. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports, so stay tuned. Keep it locked in as per usual. And again, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of this show. The first time, I think, the first time in this format, at least, that we've gone live in the show's history. So if you guys liked it, we had 77 people in here. I don't know if that's a manifest there or a shout out to Red Grange. I'm not sure, as my Red Grange bobblehead sits next to me. But nonetheless, though, shout out to the 77 people who were in here on this stream. Greatly appreciate you guys. We will catch you guys next week for another edition of BB. That'll be episode 86. And until then, enjoy your weekend and have a good one, everyone. Thanks so much and cheers. Thanks.